It is noteworthy that the percentage of women who register to vote and cast a ballot is consistently higher than the percentage of the men who do so. End of quote. Repeat the line. Women are not without electoral and or political, or maybe precise, not and or political power.
Fresh fodder for President Biden's critics tonight after he ran into some teleprompter problems. We've all been there. While talking about Friday's executive order on expanding abortion access. Let's bring in tonight's Bream team, also Dream Team, panel to discuss. Former New York State Senator David Carlucci and Project 21 co-chair Horace Cooper. Welcome back to both of you. The president also talked about the economy and said he's got it moving in the right direction. Here's a bit of what he said on that front.
Today's economic news confirms the fact that my economic plan is moving this country in a better direction. The unemployment rate is near a historic low of 3.6%. Private sector jobs are at a record high. Gas prices, still way too high, have fallen now 25 days in a row.
So, Horace, it's been a rough patch for this administration on the economy, but the president pointed to numbers today he says are pointing us in the right direction.
Well, that's absolutely wrong. The American people disagree. The American people have been saying now almost 45 days in a row, when asked, how unhappy are you about your present economic situation, about the job that the president is doing, about America, even our patriotism. The American people are saying in circumstance after circumstance that this president's poor stewardship of our economy, of our nation, of our national security is something that they do not like, they do not embrace, and there is a day of reckoning coming for this president's party, and it's precisely because he refuses to change course.
Well, let's look at this. Monmouth Polling has had some numbers very tough for the White House to try to digest this week. They say more Americans are struggling. Inflation and gas prices top family concerns. They say more than 4 in 10 Americans, 42%, say they are struggling to remain where they are financially. The number of people who say they're struggling has increased by 18 points since last year. 24%, now 42%, with that increase being fairly across the board when examining key demographic groups, including income, race, and partisanship. David, that sounds like a tough hill for the White House to climb at this moment.
Look, I can appreciate the sentiment from the American people. Inflation has been rising, gas prices are rising, interest rates are going up. But when we compare that to the rest of the world, with inflation going up in India, in New Zealand, and the entire EU at a higher rate than the United States, President Biden is right. His plan is working. When you have the dollar at the strongest it's been in decades, when you have the job market that we have that's just going bonkers. Look, Ronald Reagan said it well. A recession is when your neighbor loses your job or loses their job. A depression is when you lose their job. Well, that's not happening right now because American employers cannot keep up, and they are hiring whenever and as fast as they can. So when the job market is doing well, those are the real trends that matter.
Well, but let's look at one of those trends, because this is inflation versus wages, because wages are up, an average hourly wage is up 5.1%, but at the same time, inflation 8.6%. So, Horace, even if people can find jobs, their wages aren't keeping up with the outpacing of things like milk and gas and rent.
There is absolutely too much month left after the paycheck ends for too many American households. And that's not an accident. It's the actual poor policies of this president. And the American people, the problem here is it isn't having to be this way, and it wasn't always this way. People are able to just look back 3 summers ago and see that life was far different than the way that it is. Go to the grocery store. The common items that most people have been assuming they'd be able to get, they're not able to get. I like Fairlife whole milk. I have to go to 3 or 4 stores just to find it. That's Joe Biden. That's not a booming economy. That's not a growing economy. That's the life that many, many Americans are experiencing.
All right, David, quick final word to you.
Look, Yeah, Joe Biden is responding to the challenges of our time in a global economy. These are not unique to the American consumer. The reality is that we right now are the envy of most nations around the world, with the job market going bonkers, with the dollar being the strongest it's been in decades. The fact that these commodity prices that we're talking about are starting to come down. This is the reality. And we've got to look at those trends. Of course, it's easy to say, oh, wow, inflation is high, we're heading towards a recession. But the reality is we have to look at the real economic indicators. And the truth is Joe Biden is using the very few tools available to fight inflation, and he's doing it as best as he can, and it's actually working.
Okay, well, we'll see. The Atlanta Fed and its predictions about where we are with respect to a recession, we'll know in days whether the actual data itself gives us that answer. David and Horace, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.